Hello, and welcome to this How to Incubate Chicken Eggs by the Golden Chicken Tenders in Golden, Colorado. I found that there's not really a good how-to all the way through from start to finish of how to incubate eggs, so I'm trying to help everybody so they know what they're looking at. I also hope that a lot of school children, including my kids' schools, can enjoy watching how to incubate an egg from start to finish. So first, we have all the things that you need to incubate your eggs. The first thing, obviously, is your eggs. You'll see here I took out 3 and put them in the incubator. We get our eggs from, and there, of course, these are fertilized eggs. Now, you can't use eggs from the grocery store unless it specifically says they're fertilized eggs. And even then, but you have to get special fertilized eggs. We order ours from a very special breeder. It's called Papa's Poultry, and he's in California. And it's because I want to get the very best blue eggs from my leg bars, the most beautiful Orpingtons, and the darkest possible eggs from my black copper Morans. So I order these eggs specially, but you don't have to order eggs. You can get them from a neighbor who has a rooster. Anywhere you can get fertilized eggs is completely fine. So you'll see I have the eggs, and one thing I really appreciate beyond just the gorgeous chickens that we get that hatch from his eggs is how well he wraps the eggs. So you'll see that over there in the carton. And we have 30 eggs that we're going to incubate this time around. You'll also notice our incubator. Now, there's a lot of incubators out there to choose from, and really what you want to do is up to you. I would recommend that you not choose the cheapest incubator possible. I also recommend that you do not get an incubator from your local Tractor Supply or Murdoch's or whatever you have, because they're not very good. I also do not recommend a styrofoam incubator. I have had very poor luck with those. We got our incubators from the incubatorwarehouse.com, and I actually have 2 of these same kind because we often hatch a lot of eggs at once. We've been incubating eggs for 7 or 8 or 9 years, I can't remember. And I've always had this model, and my first one of this lasted probably a good 5-6 years before it finally broke. So I very highly recommend them. We also decided to get the clear top ones that are completely clear top because we do a lot of hatching for the purposes of education, and then everybody can see really clearly what's going on. It's really, really exciting. And we've had really good luck with these. So that's the kind of incubator that we have here. You'll also see inside the incubator, in addition to the beautiful eggs that we have, and like I said, the dark one is a black copper Moran that lays these gorgeous chocolate brown eggs. The middles are Orpingtons. I'll try and get a video for you of our beautiful Orpington. The children have named Feathers that we hatched last year. And then also on the right is the blue, crested leg bar. And those are sex-linked. That means they look different depending on if they're male or female when they hatch, which is super helpful. And they also lay these beautiful blue eggs. So you see, of course, we have our eggs in there. We also have a separate hygrometer and thermometer. And this, it's called an IncuTherm. We got it from the incubatorwarehouse.com as well. I highly recommend it. You can see we have 2 out here. And the reason I recommend having one in the middle, because you'll notice here at the top of the incubator, it has, and I didn't turn it on because it's very noisy if I do, because it has a fan that goes zzzz, that rotates, that moves the air around to keep the eggs healthy. So it's not on. If it was on, it would show you the temperature that's inside. That's in the box on the right. And in the left one, it shows you the humidity. Now, the reason I don't rely on those is because that is the temperature and humidity at the top of the incubator, which can be very, very different than what it is actually down there where the eggs are. So, because humidity can rise, so it can be really humid up at the top and it can be not humid enough down at the bottom. That's particularly the case here in Colorado, where it is extremely dry and we really struggle no matter what to keep enough humidity in our incubators. So I have the separate hygrometer and thermometer, and you can see, look at the difference in the humidity. That's that big one on the left. between the bottom, 37%, and the top at 23%. So we want to make sure that we have one down at the bottom as well. You also, on the incubator, when I turn this on, and I'll show you once I get it on, it will have a countdown hatch timer that I can set. So it will let me set the temperature, it'll let me set a hatch timer, and it also has automatic movement and rolling of the eggs to keep them safe and healthy. The last thing that you'll see in here is a sponge. And that is just your normal kitchen sponge. This is the same one that I have for our kitchen. And the reason we do that is because it is so dry here in Colorado. I want to make sure that we have enough humidity. So I put water down in the bottom. You'll see down there, those higher white points are because there's channels to hold water underneath. And so that holds water, but the sponge also really helps hold in the humidity as well, very well. Also, when we get to hatching, I don't want to keep a whole bunch of water down in the bottom because I've had baby chicks drown when other chicks stood on top of them. Their beak went down in those little holes and then they got stuck in the water and it was just a big giant mess. So we keep in, we keep in the sponge because it's a safer way to keep the humidity up. So next, what we're going to do is I am going to show you, because candling can be really hard if you don't know what you're looking for. I'm going to show you how we candle the eggs so you can see what it looks like before they start to incubate. So this is what an egg looks like candled whenever we have not set it for incubation yet. So I just got this one out of the box. It's an Orpington egg. And the reason I chose the Orpington egg is because it's a light pale brown. It's called a tinted egg. And so it's easy to see inside. Those gorgeous, super dark eggs, you're not going to be able to see inside because there's so much tint on the outside. So I'll be doing all of the examples here with Orpington eggs. And the Orpington egg here, you can see it's really awesome to see how it works. And you can see those lines at the top, ignore those. That's the pencil mark telling me what breed it is. This is a black over or blue over lavender Orpington. So hopefully it hatches because lavender Orpingtons are beautiful. But you can see that really, really bright spot at the right. So the really, really bright spot is the air sac. And you know, whenever you hard boil an egg, and there's always a flat part, usually at the base, the big part at the end of the egg, that is because that's an air sac. So when the chick starts to grow, we're going to start measuring and penciling that air sac because that shows the chick is growing. But you can see in there right now that there is nothing in there. There is there's no lines, there's no blood vessels. It's just empty. There is the yolk inside, but the light goes right through. And this is the candler that I was using. I forgot to mention them, but you saw them in my equipment setup out in the front. And I really like this candler because you can turn it off and on over on the side. And that means it stops it from overheating because these can get really, really hot. If you're candling 30 eggs, they can get really hot. I also really like the fact that it has this rubber tip on it. So you saw how well it sealed against the egg so that all the light was going into the egg. And wasn't coming out the sides. That makes seeing, especially if you got a tricky one to look at, a lot easier. You'll also notice I am in my guest bathroom downstairs when doing this, and my voice is really echoey because you have to find a room that is completely 100% dark. So this room is on an interior. It does not have any windows. It doesn't have anything. So when you turn out the lights, it is completely pitch black. And that really helps you to be able to see the candle. If there's any other light coming in, you're not going to see as well into your egg. And that can be really critical if you're trying to tell the difference between if you might have one that might live and might have one that might not live. Now we have the incubator set up, so I want to go over some really common incubator questions. First is make sure, even though I've been doing this for many years, I still keep my instructions on how to do it because every year you're a little rusty. So make sure that you keep those. Now you're going to see in here several different things. First is that sponge we talked about. Then I want to bring your attention to the difference in the humidity and the temperature down at the level of the eggs and what is shown up at the top of the incubator. So the number on the left of the temperature and hygrometer down in the inside says 45% humidity, but up top it says 35% humidity, which is of course a very big difference. You'll see my notes that you should keep your humidity between 35 and 55% during the incubation period, and then crank it up during the hatching period so that they have enough fluidity and they're not getting stuck so much in their shells. So that's why one of the big reasons I have it is so I can actually accurately track it down at the level of my eggs. And also you'll notice the difference in the temperature. Up at the top it says 83.3. I did just turn these on. And down at the bottom it says 82 degrees. So that is a degree and a half. May not seem like a lot for us as humans, but it is a lot of difference for the eggs. One year I lost an entire giant batch of beautiful eggs because my thermometer down at the egg level didn't broke, and so then I just didn't get a new one. I was like, it'll be fine, and then it wasn't, and I boiled all of my eggs because it was so much hotter down at the bottom. And I say boiled, not literally, but they all died because it was too hot, because it was so much hotter down at the bottom than it was up at the top. You'll notice that my incubator also has a number of days till hatch. That's helpful, and it reminds me. And you can also see over here that there is a black knob that goes down into the tray. So the tray, you'll notice, and this is a common question as well, the temperature needs to be at about 99.5. It's fine if you're a degree or two above or below. You just, because it will fluctuate up and down as the heater keeps it steady. You just want to try to keep it at an average of 99.5 to 100 degrees. Yeah. You'll also notice that the eggs are laying lengthwise along with the grooves in the tray. So this one has a tray instead of individual holders, and I prefer that way. And this will roll them. So I have it set, it automatically turns them. That's the automatic turner. And that's so that the yolk and the chick don't get stuck onto any of the onto the side of the shell. So I have the automatic turner set at 6 times a day, which is the default. Anywhere 6 to 8 is just fine. That will keep them nice and rolling. So I did set up 2 incubators here at the start. I'll probably condense down to 1 because unfortunately not all of the eggs will be viable. So once I can figure out how many eggs are viable, I'll get them all condensed down. So over here, just to point out the same thing, you'll see there's the sponge again, and the hygrometer shows 71. There's my daughter, Annalise. And the on top and on bottom it's 75. And on top it says it's 89 degrees, but down below it says it's 85 degrees. So there can be a big difference there. However, I just looked, if you go back over here, these ones are getting a lot closer. Down below it says 84.2, and up top it's 84.9. So that's why you really want to make sure and keep track of what you have going for your humidity and for your temperature. And it's okay that that humidity is really high and the right one here to start. It'll all settle down when you first start setting up these incubators. You got to give it several hours / to a whole day just to let it get evened out and see how it's going, and then from there you can make little adjustments. Mm-hmm.